What happens when we die? Do we simply cease to be? Or do we survive in some form?
There's millions of Americans that have had a near-death experience. They're not rare. When I first heard about near-death experiences, I thought they were so fantastic that I wanted to believe this, but an extraordinary claim like that requires extraordinary evidence.
I certainly understand people's skepticism about this. If it hadn't happened to me, I'd be skeptical about it too.
I sat there and thought to myself, this story just sounds crazy. Nobody's going to believe this. I mean, I was a pretty big spiritual skeptic, and to say those things or to even think about that experience was a lot for me to take in.
I did not want to believe this, but I've been in the presence of dying people more than any skeptic I've ever met.
Were you a skeptic before this about
Yes.
this? You were?
Yes, I was working with cancer patients prior to this happening. They would tell me they saw things, and they would say, can you see them? And I'd say, no, I can't see them. Then I would leave the room and tell the resident, you better check their morphine.
The scientific side of me could not see how that could be, and yet it was a very, very powerful memory. I do not believe that there is a good neurophysiologic explanation for what happened to me.
Eben Alexander's experience was profound and life-altering, but it is by no means unique.
Well, out of 1,300 near-death experiences that I've studied, Mary Jo's experience is absolutely typical of what people describe.
I saw this light, and it was kind of off in the distance. And my husband was by my bed, and I saw that light. And then I remember kind of looking at him. So I was like, okay, so I see this light, but I'm not dreaming. And I was thinking, is that the tunnel that the cancer patients used to tell me about? It was so small. And then all of a sudden, it came larger, and I folded into it. And I was in it.
It is by no means unique.
If near-death experiences were culturally determined, then people that had never heard of near-death experiences would have a different experience. But we're not finding that. Whether you know or don't know about near-death experience, the time it happens has no effect on whether the experience happens or not, or what the content is.
So based on your data, what is the proof?
Those that are blind, including blind from birth, can have visual near-death experience.
Vicky Naratuk had been blind from birth.
I was in Harborview Medical Center and looking down at everything that was happening. Initially, it was pretty scary. I finally recognized my wedding ring and my hair, and I thought, is this my body? I went up through the ceiling as if it were nothing. I was overwhelmed by that experience because I couldn't really imagine what light was like.
My research involved a study of young children age 5 and under, and I found the content of their near-death experiences absolutely identical to older children and adults, suggesting that whether you know about near-death experiences, what your cultural upbringing is, what your awareness of death is, doesn't seem to have any effect.
Colton was 4 with a near tragedy. What they thought was the flu turned out to be a burst appendix. Colton, today, so you're 11, this all happened to you when you were 4. He began speaking about things he couldn't possibly know about. His mother's miscarriage, his father's prayers.
When he told us about his sister in heaven, another one of those holy cow moments.
How would you explain it to a 3-year-old that a baby died in your tummy?
Okay, he can't make this up. He can't invent this. No memory was planted. He could tell me where I was while he was in surgery. The surgeon couldn't tell me that. The nurses in there couldn't. My wife couldn't tell me where I was praying, but he could tell me.
The problem with all of these physiological explanations is that they don't account for the complex thinking, the memory formation, the perceptions that take place when we know the brain is not capable of doing complex thinking. The consistent features of a near-death experience are a sense of leaving the physical body, a sense of brilliant light, which seems to radiate warmth and unconditional love, a deity of some kind. Sometimes they identify that deity as God or Christ.
An individual appears to me. kind of an odd thing because I didn't expect this, but I know intuitively that's Jesus Christ.
He looked an awful lot like Jesus. Long hair, beard, mustache.
And he had a beard, and that beard was parted in the middle, and so that it hung down two little parts, and his hair was long and curly.
And just the most piercing and kind eyes.
And I noticed his beautiful, beautiful eyes. Those beautiful eyes I'll never forget.
He had beautiful blue eyes that were streaming blue.
He's got these blue eyes that just like look right into me, and they know me.
His eyes looked into my heart.
It was like shuddering to my soul to see him.
I was looking right at Jesus.
Whether you know about near-death experiences, what your cultural upbringing is, what your awareness of death is, doesn't seem to have any effect.
I was an atheist. I was a hardcore atheist. I didn't believe in God.
I didn't believe in God. I thought anybody that believed in God was an idiot.
Don't talk to me about God, and surely don't talk to me about a resurrection or a virgin birth or this type of thing, because I am in research science, PhDs in research science.
I was a college professor. I was an arrogant son of a gun, to put it mildly. Any of you that don't believe in God, you don't know what you don't know. Your God is you. You think you're God. And you got the puniest, most worthless God there is. Wow. Yourself, brother. And it's about time you got straightened out.
Now, there are people that talk about a light. There are people that talk about floating above. There are people that talk about a feeling of warmth and love. I felt none of that. I felt untold terror. Believe me, that is the most horrifying, terrifying experience that I've ever encountered.
I kept saying to myself, this is crazy. I don't believe in this. It can't be happening. This doesn't happen. This can't be real, except that I knew that it was the realest thing I was experiencing. It's hyper-reality. I know it's hard to explain, but it was more real than this is real. And very long journey into an ever-increasing closeness and darkness. Wow. And then I'm getting like really scared.
And I'm free falling into this hole. It's pitch black, a black you've never seen before.
It was so dark that you close your eyes and put your hands over them. It was still darker than that.
Immediately, I was moving through that smoke as if through a tunnel.
It was a tunnel that everyone had to go to, and I came out of this tunnel.
And after some period of time, coming out of the smoke and out of the darkness, it was so dark.
But yet there was some form of sight because I could see the silhouettes of the people that was in there.
As if a close-up lens on a camera was bringing their faces close to me, I could see their features. The sensation was looking down and seeing fire and smoke.
I knew that this place was not a good place, that this probably was hell.
I saw the flames burning underneath me.
Were people screaming?
Oh, yes.
I began to hear the voices of a multitude of people screaming and groaning and crying.
It was just horrible.
The screams that I heard, you know what I'm saying, just the cries, people were screaming and crying and just yelling.
They wanted to get out of there.
They were being tormented.
Terribly tormented.
I was in a place of total torment, screaming out in agony, in total terror. It was as if there was like a sulfuric type acid burn.
Sulfur, like an electric welder. And the stench was terrible.
Then I began to smell the stench. Oh my, the smell was terrible as hell. It's burning flesh, and yet it isn't burning.
They were burning, but they weren't burning up. They weren't being consumed.
Just bring me some water, something to quench this flame. Their tongues were hanging out, and some of their eyes looked like they were bubbling out of their head. They were just reaching up. They wanted some help. They wanted out of there, but in the way out of there.
And there was a mutual feeling, a mutual understanding of everyone, the thousands and millions of people that were there with me, that we did not want anyone to go where we were.
And a number of them began to call my name and said, Ronnie, don't come to this place. There's no way out. There's no escape. If you come here, there's no way out.
Because time does not exist in eternity. Time does not exist at all. And so you know you are there forever.
In hell. I mean, it mutes me. It's so bad.
The burn will never stop. The screaming will never stop. And the only thing you can do is hope that no one else will come where you are. We wanted people to go back to earth and warn everyone, don't believe the lie, do not be deceived by your enemy.
But I believe the most painful part of it was the loneliness. And the depression was so heavy that there was no hope. There was no escape. There was no way out of this place.
And the physical pain does not begin to measure up to the psychological, emotional pain.
So much regret and shame and guilt that I had believed a lie and that I had believed the deceit. And you could look across the Gulf expanse and you could see heaven, you could see the peace, the joy, the love, the wholeness. And you knew you were never going to experience that. And here I am in this state of agony, indescribable agony. And the only thing that mattered was that I never surrendered to the lordship of Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.